synonym for final or antonym for draft. I'm hitting a problem where we are using forms of the word final with three different meanings. Final evaluation as opposed to midterm evaluation. Final version as opposed to draft version. Finalizing, where an administrator reviews a final version of a final evaluation and approves it for viewing by the evaluatee. Where this becomes really confusing is when I want to tell the evaluator that he needs to save his evaluation as a final version, not a draft version, before it will be submitted for finalization. If it matters, this is a change from how it worked previously. They used to have to keep the evaluations as drafts, and the administrator would do both the saving as final version and finalizing. Yes, it was even more confusing. Usage 1 is a term of art, so I kind of have to stick with it. For usage 3, I can come up with sorta acceptable substitutes like review or approval. But I'm totally stuck on usage 2. I can't find any antonyms for this meaning of draft, and none of the synonyms for final seem unambiguous enough to use on a submit button. The buttons currently say save final and save draft. Help. Context: this is part of an online evaluation system, i.e. HTML forms in a web browser. The process, roughly. At the end of the semester, or trimester or quarter, the teacher is notified that final evaluations are due. This use of final is an established term of art which I can't change. The teacher fills out the evaluation form. If he can't finish in one sitting, he can save a draft and come back to it later. After the teacher is satisfied with his evaluation, he saves a non-draft version. This is where I'm looking for a word that isn't final. At some point after most of the finals have been submitted, an administrator reviews them, possibly changes some final grades, mostly situations where a student didn't complete something that is outside of the teacher's purview, then finalizes them. This part could also use some better vocabulary. After step 4 has been completed, and not at any point before, the evaluated student can look at her final evaluation to see how she did.
How about draft, pre-approval, approved? I suggest you avoid using approval and approved together because they are visually similar. If there are functional differences at different stages of the workflow, you could describe the document in those terms. This helps the user understand what's going on. E.g., editable, locked, approved. The instances in which the verbs are causing conflict is because the people who directly benefit from having done each stage regard each stage as their particular final version. Instead of naming the stages after the verb finalize, try naming them after what they create. For instance, evaluating of midterm and reviewed midterm grade. Peer-reviewed midterm grade, 10 peers. Draft midterm grade, 1 tutor. Final midterm grade, university approval. I'm making some of this up because I don't know your process, but that's half the point. Naming things after the process which creates them is like calling a child a birth. You can name processes as an interim necessity of progress, but if you measure them as the results of progress, then all you get is people gaming systems to do the things you told them to without the goals. For those people who think this might not be anything to do with the English language, I heartily recommend reading Metaphors We Live By. We commonly use metaphors which treat work done as value achieved. This is at the heart of some of the difficulties that Western countries face, IMO.
It will be convenient and appropriate if you name the versions to reflect their intended destination. However, for that you will need to clear the existing associations from your thinking and look at it afresh. Evaluation is ready for, will go next for evaluation. Approval is ready for, will go next for approval. Final is ready. Will not go anywhere for any modifications. Also, you will need to completely do away with all references to the word final, except to designate the one and only version called final, with a capital F.
The word you want is finished.